Hello, everyone. It's Sunday. It's a fairly cool day, and obviously very nice to relax on a Sunday. I've just been watching some Deepak Chopra. I don't know if you follow him. He is a trained medical scientist. He's a global phenomena because he's moved over a long period of time into discussing spiritual enlightenment and the holistic view of each of us as human beings, and being comprised of three things: mind, body, and spirit. Now, obviously, there's a lot to discuss about those three things. So he's currently doing a series, and you can find him. I think it's uh, Deepak Chopra Center, but just type his name into Facebook, and I get the notifications. So at the moment, he's talking about the healing that you can do for yourself, and then he's going to come on to talk about the other aspects. So spiritual healing. So forgive me if I'm not looking directly at the camera all the time, because I made some notes, because obviously there's a lot going on in the world that is highly sensitive and affects us all to a greater or lesser degree, as we are all interconnected. And what I was particularly struck by what he was saying is that, it all starts with ourselves and our own body. And, I'm the first to admit, I could, walk more, drink more water, and improve. But I am very fortunate to live in and amongst nature and the lakes and the woods and the water, and it's very peaceful and the air quality is very clean. And I've got a beautiful garden, could be a bit tidier, but it is beautiful. So what he said today that I was listening to, and it's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, is that there's a body, mind, and spirit solution to the pandemic and the violence in the world, and the choices that we need to make, as every choice we make now will determine the future of humanity and the effect that it has on our children and grandchildren. And if we're really interested in creative solutions, we need to address the facts and the past and the history of the human species and life on this planet, and look at what's happening with total honesty, and then reimagine the future and make conscious choices, because we can all affect that change. So if we do so, there is a future for humanity, even though as an individual you may not feel that how can I possibly change the world? But there is a lot that we can do to start with ourselves, to keep ourselves sane and strong and positive, and a positive force for change. Because if we don't, then we all face equally a dire future. So many experts, including Deepak Chopra, he says they're now saying that we either move into a new paradigm or we face extinction, and this will be the result of human action, mechanized death, cyber or biological warfare, such as terrorism, poison of the water and in the food, climate refugees, mass extinction, disruption of the ecosystem. So it all suggests we're facing a destruction of the species. And if we want to create a better future for our children or humanity, then we must complete our experience of being human. Now, what does he mean by that? Well, everything suggests that our humanity is not complete. In other words, we're still evolving and learning on our journey. So the facts are that all we have are creative solutions, and those creative solutions can start with the individual. And if you start with yourself, then you can build momentum and be a positive force for change. So we can't declare war, for example, on social unrest or the pandemic. I mean, what does that actually mean? It just means we perpetuate the unrest, the inflammation of the world, and the violence. If we start with the body, and this particular lecture that he was giving was about the body, if you remember, mind, body, and spirit. So there's too much to cover in all three. So I'm going to be covering the rest of his topics later as I hear them. So the body is what we experience the world through with our five senses, taste, hearing, touch, sight, smell, etc. And if that is if there's a summary of that, if the body is inflamed, we're a microcosm of the universe, then it's a reflection of that. You know, anything that disrupts what's going on in the body and inflames it, and disrupts regulation in the body, you know, can be inflammation in the mind, aggression, hostility, and the loss of any balance leads to a loss of self-regulation in the body, and then it becomes more susceptible to disease. So how do we tackle this inflammation? Well, the world is on fire, metaphorically speaking, well, and some cases literally, and it's out of control. And all this is related to stress and physical threat and the worry about survival, economic instability, violence, threat of loss of jobs, real loss of jobs, social injustice, threat of bigotry and prejudice. And we have to address that head on. It affects all of us. We are all part of it, and we need to be part of the solution, not the problem. And if we don't address that, we're ignoring the first step to a solution to the pandemic and social unrest. Is it justified? Yes. And your mental, physical and emotional state and spiritual health is really important right now, as the world is a reflection of all of us. So you have to address this for yourself. I have to address this for myself. And anyone has to address this for themselves, to have physical well-being and joy and lightness of spirit and being, and have empathy and love, you know, and to understand that our own healing will help the momentum for the healing of the world. So the first thing is restful sleep. I didn't go to bed till very, very late because I had a lazy day yesterday. Then I started with my articles and engagement here and doing some work on, well, it's not really work, I really enjoy it, but engaging online about 7 or 8 last night, and then I ended up not going to bed till about 4 a.m. But I did have a very good night's sleep, and I didn't rush this morning. I didn't get up till after lunch. And because I look at the markets late on in the evening, I will now, you know, be here, and I've got to do my French tax return as well. So back to the main topic, you know, managing your stress any way you can. For example, he says meditation, and then he mentioned humor, and he said he's been watching reruns of the old Candid Camera. I don't know if you remember that, but it's simple, funny, practical jokes on people. Like, for example, I don't know if you remember a very old one where they pretended they were eating goldfish out of a tank in a pet shop, but it was slices of carrot. And it's funny, isn't it? Because I sometimes think when I sit in my armchair on my phone watching Facebook videos, if it isn't something like Eric Worre or Ray Higdon or Deepak Chopra, who else do I watch? Gary Vaynerchuk, Grant Cardone, then I'm kind of wasting time. But actually, I've been quite addicted to watching Conan, who's it's about 16 years he's been on TV in the States, and he's just so funny with his staff, and then some of the things he does out there with the public. And he's very intelligent, very empathetic. You know, they absolutely love him over there. And I realized that, you know, that was a nice escape into humor to help give you that joy and that uplift. So I was pleased that Deepak Chopra said that's fine, and that is what you should be doing, because it enables you to connect directly with your soul and with laughter and imagination, poetry, music, massage, and sleep is a way to manage stress as well. So dance, movement in any form. So connect with those simple things if you can, to help yourself and to put aside all the things that threaten to overwhelm you and you know, will drive you insane. All the stress and worry, whether it's financial, can't go out your front door because you feel scared. You know, the negativity coming at you from the TV, etc., etc. So he says what is important is mind, body, and coordination. Moving 5,000 to 10,000 steps a day, and he's been doing it around his house and garden. Deep breathing, and it stimulates the vagus nerve, which is the anti-inflammatory nerve, and the parasympathetic nervous system. So I made a vow to myself, I really must do more dog walking. I used to walk more down in the woods, and then in the lockdown, I didn't go out into the woods. We weren't allowed out into the woods. I just did short circuits, and they tended to get shorter and shorter with the dog. Healthy emotions, he says he's going to come on to that in the next one. And he said empathy, compassion, loving kindness, and desire to alleviate suffering is all very important right now. Nutrition, so good sleep, nutrition, 2 million to 20 million genes in your body are a whole ecosystem of viruses, fungi, and other genetic microbiology of life, the cord for the production of our bodies, so maximum diversity of plant-based foods, and cut down. I mean, I've been vegetarian for a long time. I do eat some dairy, and I perhaps need to cut that down. But he says particularly meat from factories where the animals have been injected with inflammatory products, pesticides, herbicides, that destroys the balance of the microbes in your gut. So avoid toxins, because all those chemicals will come into your body big time, and that won't help you re-establish a good balance for your own mental and physical and emotional health. He says some contact with nature, go hug a tree. I know we all used to laugh at Prince Charles in the UK hugging a tree 30 years ago, but this is proven. Looking at a plant in your house or apartment, touch the earth. And he says, and I often walk around in bare feet, perhaps not so good in the summer because we get hornets here, and sometimes we get splinters from the floorboards going to my feet. But he says, walk on sand or grass, put your feet on the earth, because the negative ions move up from the earth and neutralize the free radicals in your body. And the last pillar is self-realization and spiritualization. He says, we'll come on to that. So how do I create a joyful, energetic body for myself? He says lots of water, and he says a little coffee is good. I tend to drink about 2 cups a day. I don't drink a lot of it, but I do like it with my soya, almond or hazelnut milk. And he said that actually mitigates against Alzheimer's and liver cancers, because a lot of physical diseases, the beginning of them lies many decades back in your life, which is quite interesting, because if imbalances come in caused by whether it's something mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, or an accident or whatever may have come across you, it will manifest itself in physical diseases later on. So coffee can also protect against liver cancers and some reproductive cancers. It's not bad, he said, like with anything, if you overdo anything, it's bad. Turmeric is one of the most effective anti-inflammatories. Now I've got a big bag of turmeric. I must do more with that, maybe make myself a vegetable curry tonight with that. And ginger tea, which I've always loved, ginger tea with a green tea bag and some a lemon slice. I do love that, maybe a tiny bit of honey. And he says, practice gratitude. And I do that every morning. A lot of people do, where they're leaders and they're building a business and a movement and attracting around you people of like minds. So I do that every morning. It reduces inflammation in the body. And sorry, it's my dog, wants his dinner, don't you, darling? And optimize your immune function. Now, this is taken from his lecture, The Anatomy of Experience, Part 11A, Body, Mind, Spirit, Solution to the COVID-19 Pandemic and Social Unrest. And there's also, he references the Chopra Center Herbal Handbook, 40 Herbs for Chronic Inflammation, Depression and Anxiety. And his book, Metahuman, is about self-realization. So that's all today. I hope that was interesting. Leave me some comments, likes and shares. Tell me what you think and what you're doing to help yourself in this time of anxiety and stress, where we can't control everything, but we can start with ourselves. And we've been locked down for 12 weeks or so, which doesn't help either. And I look forward to talking to you all again soon. Bye for now.